1,000 watts clear channel voice of news radio.
3, 2.
Hello, I'm Deborah Carter, host for Gaining a Voice. The most important factor in getting a message across in the media is getting to know reporters as people. The media is made up of individuals who have points of view and interests. These are often reflected in the type of stories they write, the type of issues and events that are selected for their television or radio programs. But how do we get to know journalists as individuals? In this program, we'll look at how to contact the media and how to create opportunities to meet journalists as people.
Find the person at the paper who covers the area that you have constituency in. Cultivate that relationship. Get their name, get their number, get their home number if you can, and keep in regular contact. It's as much your responsibility as theirs to keep on contact on a regular basis. Be timely, be informative. Don't send press releases 2 days after the event. Nothing ticks me off faster than that. But make sure that you're well informed and that you keep your contacts well informed.
Up on 4, music, transform. Ready, 2,
2, 1.
2, move 2.
Hi everybody, welcome back. We had invited you.
If I had to advise any kind of community group or anybody that wants to get a message out, first and foremost, get to know who you want to put that message out with. So get to know the program, get to know the reporter, get to know whoever you can to be able to decide, okay, that's the place I want to go.
You have to know that you're making the story pitch to the right person. So if you want a program on Sunday morning, you should be talking to the people who make Sunday morning. And you should know that if it's something you think should be on Cross Country Checkup, that's produced by different people. You have to find out that they're produced in Montreal. You have to call Montreal CBC and get their phone number, or find out from someone here what the phone number is. And talk directly to the program about story ideas, because that's where the decisions about stories are made at a program level.
A newspaper is a big place, and that means that there are many layers to go through, as in any other organization. So sometimes you may just end up not talking to the right person. I would try again. Or sometimes you've caught that person on deadline, because there are daily deadlines, and they're just not listening to you. You know, they're too busy trying to get a story edited or trying to figure out how we're going to cover a fire. So they may be sounding polite on the phone, but they're not quite with you. So try it again, I would say. Phone back. Don't take it personally if there's a rebuff, because it isn't certainly meant that way. It's usually because someone is very busy at that moment.
I think the most important thing, and people don't pay enough attention to this, is understanding that the media are human beings. They have their human frailties. They, too, are living with the economic realities of the 90s. Their budgets are being cut. Therefore, every person who's working as a reporter or as an editor has so much more work to do. The last thing they need is getting a news release that's coming across their desk that they have to spend 2 pages reading, to go through 2 pages of copy before they determine what the message is all about. They're never going to get to the message. They're going to throw it out. And the next time they see something from your organization, they're going to throw it out, and they're going to throw it out.
I get some releases and I go, what is it that they're offering me? What is it that they think is a story? So then I have to try and figure it out. Then I have to try and track them down. Then I get into a discussion about the story. It'll be a lot easier and sure, I'm selfish. It's going to be easier from my perspective to make a decision if I know what the story is. But it's also better for them. If they're trying to get to the media and get their message out, then they've got to deliver their message to us, the same as we have to deliver the message to the public.
News releases are the most common method of contacting the media.
You have to make sure it's an eye grabber. One of the things that I have found, and I've been told by several media people, and it's certainly true, that if you can't say it in the first paragraph, don't bother to say it at all.
Journalists pay attention to releases that follow a proven format. News releases should be no more than 1 page. Start by clearly identifying your organization. Title your page as a news release, date it, and state that it's for immediate release. Summarize your story or event in the first paragraph in less than 6 lines. The next 2 paragraphs should expand the information by answering the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why of your story or event. The last paragraph can summarize your organization and its activities. Make sure the media knows how to contact you. Address the news release to a person or a section head.
Make sure the press release, if you're sending it out for the next day to get into the papers or in the on television, you have to make sure that the press release goes out no later than 11 o'clock. The media, basically, print media, shuts down by 3:30 in the afternoon. So because they have to meet all their deadlines, so you have to make sure that that information goes out by 11:30. Send the information to the assignment editors. You don't necessarily have to have the name of the assignment editor, but on your fax sheet, you send it to the assignment editor.
It's a lot of being in touch with them, first of all, to make sure that they've received the information. TV stations particularly get so much information. They're deluged with information from day to day. So you have to be sure that it's reached the right person that makes the decision and it hasn't been lost or misplaced or whatever. And oftentimes the case is that, oh, I haven't seen that press release, or I don't know anything about it. Would you resend the information? So it's a matter of really being in touch and making sure the right people have the information and they can make their decision.
We get a lot of news releases. Some of them result in stories, yeah. Probably 90% of them do not. But there are story ideas in them, yes, so we do look at them.
You can overwhelm any newsroom with faxes to the point that your faxes go straight into the recycle bin. They're tired of hearing of you and hearing from you. You have to pick your moments. You have to pick your issues. And you have to pick your media as well.
Send out the appropriate means of information to the different media outlets. If this is a television station, then it means that we need to send out a television memo indicating to the journalists there the kinds of problems that we're having, what we need to do, how we can solve the problem. If it's a radio, then we need to send them public service announcements. We can write these ourselves, make sure they fit in with what Harmony House is about, and then send them off.
I intentionally last summer did no releases whatsoever, did no stories. I understand as well that the media and the public are going to get burned out if they keep hearing about a charity all the time.
You have to be sympathetic, I think, to the constraints or pressures that the media you're dealing with are operating under and be able to approach them having framed your story in a way that allows them to use it. And you're struggling to walk that very fine line between being marginalized on the one hand, where you don't get any media attention at all, and being co-opted on the other hand, where your issue is redefined in such a way that it's lost all meaning or potency.
The cuts at the city level for within, budget cuts and how this affects racial and ethnic
After
minorities.
sending the news release, a follow-up phone call to the editor of a section or the producer of a program would be in order.
We get, on a given day, dozens and dozens and dozens of faxes from people sending in press releases. The volume of that kind of material coming into the building is immense. And so, we have people sorting that stuff and trying to get it to the best people, but the more direct the connection, the better it is. We put the name of the editor and a phone number right at the top of every section front, and we put the names and phone numbers of people who handle our specialty pages. This is a Thursday paper. Today we have a world section, so at the top of this section, we have the editor's name. It's David Evans, and the number where you can reach him directly. This is not a general newsroom number. It's his direct line. We have the same on sports. The editor is Tom Casey. For City Life, again, our editor's name is there, and her number.
Other effective methods of contacting the media are letters to the editor, the opinion page, and personal letters.
I look for these small groups, the small community groups, who may have an issue that they want to vent or tell us about. And very often this can lead to follow-up stories in the newsroom. They see the letter and then they follow up issues that are developing that we may not know about. So it's a way of getting news to us as well as sort of views and that sort of thing. Most of the letters are in response to something that we've written. And then there are others which someone writes just off the top of their head. It's something that really annoys them, bus is delayed or something like that, and inspires them to write to us. And very often they make the best letters because they're kind of emotional and angry and that sort of thing.
Letters to the editor and personal letters can be the first step in gaining media attention for your issue.
The second step, of course, would be to take advantage of submitting a piece for our opinions page, our op-ed page, and particularly to look perhaps at the Sunday opinions page, which has a purposeful focus on the community and deals with issues that are only community-wide, whereas the daily, the Monday to Friday op-ed page tries to look at issues that, while they affect this community, also affect the province or the nation, or sometimes even farther than that.
One of the first things that has to be is interesting. It has to be something that people will read and respond to and relate to. One of the problems you always have in an opinions page is that you'll get a lot of articles from very specialized people who have very specialized knowledge, and it'll read like a report, and the hopes that a busy reader will wade through something like that is just beyond the pale. So we try to encourage people to express themselves as if they were talking to somebody rather than trying to impress some academic peer or something, and put it in simple, basic terms that ordinary people can understand and not just specialists.
Guidelines for letters to the editor and for the opinion page are available from your local media.
What's up?
Find out from your local media how they publicize events and activities. Send your information to the right person or section head and meet their deadlines.
It's a very personal message. It's a very personal message, and the camera is basically just, eavesdropping on.
Public service announcements are short audio or video clips about community groups and organizations. These PSAs are broadcast free of charge, and sometimes broadcasters help groups to create them.
You need to have a vision of what you want to say and the message you want to convey. You have a very short time to do it, and you have to be very focused. It's not brain surgery. You just have to be very focused because you have a very short amount of time. And then once you have that vision, or once you have that focus, then you can get creative and you can look at the different elements you have visually, or a spokesperson, or a representative, or whatever. It gives you 30 seconds. It gives you a 30-second unfiltered message, a message that you want to convey to the community that you may not be able to convey through newspapers or on a community events calendar, as an example. You get a chance to say your piece and really say something that otherwise may not get you on the 6 o'clock news.
CFMT in Toronto is one television station that takes PSAs seriously.
7, 6. I think we give a lot of opportunities for public service announcements in the 15 languages that we broadcast in. And the way we do this is that we have to make sure, number one, that they're nonprofit. It's a nonprofit organization. And, and the associate producers who are sensitive to the needs of the communities, will choose the PSAs, the ones that are most applicable to the program.
Speed 80.
Okay, well now I put it.
Organizations that have the funding can develop very effective PSAs that clearly define their message.
Push, I have it on reverse.
My husband used to exude confidence. Now he's plagued by anxiety and fear. He used to delight in the simplest pleasures. Now he can't perform the simplest tasks. His face used to light up when he saw me. Now he's not always sure who I am. But then I barely recognize him anymore. My husband is 55 and he's been stolen from me. But there is help and there is hope.
Under the B25.
Radio PSAs are also an effective way of getting your message across. Citizen Advocacy teamed up with radio station Magic 100 to help with their PSAs and other events.
It's simple advice, and that is pick up the phone and call the radio station and ask to speak to somebody in either the programming or promotions department and just say, this is what we're thinking about doing. Can you give us a hand? Do you have any advice, any suggestions? How can we make this better?
I would agree with Kent. It's important to pick up the phone because the first thing you have to do is ask, and the only thing that, or the worst thing that somebody can do is say no. And that's certainly, I think, the very first thing that we all have to keep in mind no matter what we're going after.
That's right.
So, so what we'll do is design a posting, a little announcement, electronic announcement, like an email message, that has the information about where that meeting is going to take place and when. And then we'll, at the end of that message, explain, brief introduction to the issue, place a little message about if people want more information about this issue, they can contact, go to the webpage.
Computers have created new methods for community groups and associations to stay in contact. Greenpeace Canada is an organization that takes full advantage of this new technology.
Sweet, Jim, sweet.
In one of their recent campaigns, Greenpeace asked for support for a Canadian embargo of Nigerian oil.
It's all about communicating your message. It doesn't matter what business you're in. If you're in the business of selling products, if you're in the business of promoting ideas and public policy, progressive public policy, you will live and die based on your communication strategy. And you will not save the world, you will not protect human rights, you will not sell widgets unless you can communicate to somebody that it's important that they buy your widgets and it's important that they adopt your policy. And not only that, but you can bring some pressure to bear on them. And the internet today gives activists a much more level playing field with communications technologies that previously have been dominated by large, well-funded corporations.
Having ability to market your particular interest group or the activities of your interest group on the internet allows you to, A, remain in control of it. So you have control of the content. Second of all, it allows you to update it when you feel you need to update it. So should there be a change in a group's mandate or a position, they can reflect that immediately on the internet through text documents, graphical images, whatever, as well as it allows them to market themselves.
Anybody who's currently not online can get going. There are lots of organizations in the community, in your community, nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations, educational institutions, friends, neighbors, colleagues who already know about this stuff. And it's probably the easiest way is to ask somebody who knows to teach you, because people love to teach you. They love to help you.
News conferences take a lot of time, effort, planning, and cost. When done well, they can attract media attention. We often see examples of good news conferences on television. These conferences may feature well-known individuals, such as author Salman Rushdie, and address important issues of the day.
News media are competitive, we hate to get the same information as the competitor. We're a community service, but we're also a business, so we compete. And if we're all at the same news conference, we're all getting the same information, it tends to take a little bit of luster off that competition for reporters. Now, there are circumstances where it should be done, and it's a very effective thing to do. But mostly, I'd rather someone contacted me and said, this is a really important event or story or issue. I'd be prepared to talk to you about it. And then we'd have a reporter speaking to them one-on-one. I prefer to do it that way. It's more efficient.
I guess what I would say to community groups is demonstrations, first of all, and without trying to be in any way disrespectful. In Canada's capital, demonstrations are basically a dime a dozen. We get lots of faxes and lots of phone calls and lots of news releases that a demonstration is coming up. If it doesn't fit into something else we're doing, if we don't think that there are going to be hundreds of people there, since usually there are not, it almost automatically becomes a low priority.
Staging special events can often bring media attention. Events that are different, colorful, and attract many people are of interest to everyone. Speaking with interested journalists during the planning process will often ensure media coverage.
Often it's a good idea if these people identify themselves to us well before there is an actual news event. If they just make a phone call or drop us a line and say, here's who we are, this is who we represent, and these people are our constituency, and we speak with some authority on issues concerning them, whatever that group might be.
And I think that when you show that kind of willingness to work with the reporter and cooperate, it's a great relationship that benefits the two of you. And just because you're a group of volunteers doesn't mean that you can't pick up the phone and say hello once in a while and let us know you're out there.
How you contact the media is sometimes determined by where you live.
What works in a small town does not work in a big city. There's a big problem. In a small town, the daily newspaper is manageable. There are 20 or 30 people. You run into the editor on the main street, or you meet him at the Rotary Club and Lions Club, and you can bend his ear. You and he talk. You run into each other, socially and otherwise. In a big city, that's very difficult. And a big city newspaper cannot and does not cover the news in the same way that a small town newspaper does. The little events that matter to people. Because we are trying to be all things to all people, and there are lots of things and there are lots of people, and there's only so much space.
Here, if there's a story done on someone and they don't like it, they can walk in and look us up. We're very accessible. We're right on the main street. We don't have any security. People can walk in the front door. So I think we, in some ways, have a greater responsibility in covering the news and doing a good job, because we have to be right. I think people are such that they expect us to be right, but we also get a lot of community input. We have a lot of people who will just simply walk in off the street and tell us about an incident or a story or something that they see that's happening in the community, and they think that we should be aware of it. So I think we have a closer relationship with our reader, perhaps, and maybe that's our bread and butter, is the fact that we're covering local news and local issues.
As you've seen, there are many methods of contacting people in the media, but just contacting them isn't enough. You need to know who they are, and even more important, they need to know who you are. It's a good idea to stay in contact with journalists on a regular basis. This way, you keep them informed about your activities, so when you do need them, they'll know about your group. Other programs in the series will show you how to shape your message for a specific audience and how to take control of it. For Gaining a Voice, I'm Deborah Carter.